Well, we're at the National N Scale Convention in Salt Lake City. It came to us.
It came to us this time. This is exciting.
This is exciting.
It's like the warm-up for the big one.
Yeah. There's so many conventions coming up, and we've been looking forward to this one for over a year.
Yes, and all coming to Utah.
Wow. So this is really quite a show. The National N Scale Convention right here in our backyard.
It is.
So check this out. Well, there's a certain upside to having the convention right here in the town with us. Normally we have to leave town, and in this particular case, the show came to us. The downside of that is instead of going back to our hotel, we go home. And when we got there, the lawn still needed to be mowed, and the phone needed to be answered, and the trash needed to be taken out.
Sometimes there's an advantage of leaving town. You get to stay in a convention center and just kick back and relax.
Yeah, it's an actual vacation. This was actually a really big show, one of the biggest ones we've ever been to.
It sure was.
And right there in our backyard, the National N Scale Convention. They've been doing this for over 20 years. This just happens to be the first one we've ever been to because normally we don't do anything with N Scale.
That's about to change because I really want to build an N Scale layout.
Well, you've been hooked on it for quite some time, so this just pushed us over the edge.
That's right.
N Scale's actually come a long way in the last 20 years. It runs so much better, and even the details improved. I guess you could say it's not your grandfather's N Scale anymore.
But now you're a grandfather.
So I guess we'd have to say it's not my old N Scale anyway, which I got out of because I couldn't make it run. So now we can get back into it because, geez, it's gotten better.
Yes.
So here in the dealer room, they had a lot of dealers showing off their various wares and people selling older stuff that's been around, both the manufacturers and just sort of dealers.
Oh, look, it's a Gil Bennett painting.
That's one of my favorites by him, the Big Blow, the 8,500 horsepower turbine. And these guys were giving that away because they've done a model of the 8,500 horsepower turbine in N Scale. And they even had a limited number of 126 available with the sound installed. Now this is actually old school N Scale structures that are just simple resin casts. But these are the best resin casts I've ever seen. Perfectly square, perfectly flat, no warpage whatsoever. They use a two-piece system for each wall, and somehow it holds the whole thing really, really square. And don't those look great?
These buildings are just beautiful. They look just like stepping back in time.
They're beautiful. And while it's mostly dealers and manufacturers, any of the participants could grab a table for free. And this person's starting a layout, and he just wanted to show off his equipment that he's been building for his layout. And holy crap, that looks nice. One of the great traditions in N Scale are these very limited editions and special runs. In this case, Cato's done a 50-year anniversary, and boy, that'd be tempting to grab one of those. And here's one of the oldest manufacturers in N Scale, Atlas. As a kid, I always wanted to go to Atlas's plant in Hillside, New Jersey, because I went to Hillside Junior High. So I thought there was some connection. I don't know. You know how kids are.
Oh, look, I cannot believe my eyes. 3D printed cars.
Yeah, this guy, Jens John, came from Germany, and he's really into American cars, like you.
Yes.
American car fanatic. But he 3D prints all of these things, and he designs them on his computer. And he's selling those. He's got a Shapeways store, and he offers just about every car that was made in America in the 60s and 70s. How about that? And here we have someone offering laser-cut wood kits in N Scale. Really nice looking buildings. This is Cato's track system. Bachmann offers something quite similar. But that's the newest thing in N Scale track. It works much better than loose track.
So they're having a raffle, and look at what they have to offer.
They had all kinds of stuff, so we had to buy a bunch of raffle tickets. We didn't win anything.
No, but it was fun to dream about it.
It was really fun. And they had an auction as well. And with an auction, it just goes to the high bidder. So, of course, that we joined in on, and we actually scored big time. We found this in the auction. Well, you found it.
I found it. It's like, get over here.
Just amazing. Bachman did this very, very limited edition model of the Disneyland Railroad for Disneyland's 50th anniversary, produced in very, very limited numbers. And, well, we paid quite a bit for it.
Yes, we did.
But, you know, I just had it appraised, and guess what?
We didn't pay that much.
No, it turned
Not
out
compared.
it appraised for 3 times what we paid for it, in spite of the fact we paid a lot. But that's what's so fun about auctions and raffles. It's sort of like a treasure hunt. Oh, and check this out. Michael Brogy, who's kind of the official Disneyland Railroad historian, he used to actually hang out at Walt Disney's house and ride his backyard railroad, and he's written a neat book about that. At any rate, this particular set, look at that, he autographed it.
And this is the little kids section here. Look what they've done. They've made railroad layouts for pizza boxes.
Yeah, this is an idea started up, I think, here in Salt Lake, but I'm not at all sure. But they tell these kids to build a layout the exact same size as a pizza box. They used to, I think, actually use a pizza box, but now they use a foam board instead.
So these kids, they have a lot of fun designing and building their own railroads.
They take a great deal of pride in what they're doing, and it's a win for everybody because it's helping build interest in model railroading.
The kids love to do this, and I'll tell you what, they could be some teachers too.
That is really cool. Now, of course, all railroad conventions have modular railroads, and being the N Scale convention, of course, they have N Scale modules, and some of them have come in from all over the place. This is the N track modules. And N track, I don't know if these guys actually invented the whole idea of modules, but I think they did back in the 1970s. But the N track modules used to be quite large, and they've reduced the size down to 12 by 18 inches so that they can easily take them on an airplane. And they're designed in such a way that any module can hook to any other module, so you can just grab your module and go to a show and hook it up to the N track modules. Isn't that cool?
That is neat.
So the sponsoring club here is a couple of different local clubs from St. George, if you can call that local. I would call it.
I would call it local.
Yeah, local.
Still Utah.
and Hurricane. Don't say hurricane. Hurricane. Anyway, these guys brought their modules up, and then people came in from all over the country and hooked their modules in wherever they could just sort of fit it. And it's all designed to just sit on a tabletop, so there's no legs or anything.
Our group is from southern Utah, Hurricane and St. George area, but we've got modules from Georgia, Texas, South Texas, Michigan, and Kansas City right now. And we've never met before, and they all just worked. It's great.
It's a great concept.
Yeah, it is.
I've been a member of a couple of different modular groups over the years, an O-scale modular group, couple of different O-scale modules, and that's really sort of fun, but ultimately I get a bigger kick out of building my own railroad. And now that we have Garage Mahal, that's exactly what we're going to be doing, is building our own railroads.
I'm really looking forward to building my own railroad.
Now, this was the largest railroad that showed up, the Fremo, Nebraska Modular Club. Fremo's kind of a weird concept. There again, it's a whole standard, but in this case, the standard is sort of a lack of standards. It's like, do whatever you want. Complete modular with complete freedom to design your own modules and make it work any way you want to make it work. And these guys came in all the way from Nebraska, so they traveled over 1,000 miles to be here with this gigantic railroad.
This is really impressive. Check out the southwestern motif here.
Isn't that neat? And I'm really loving that giant Challenger that they're running there. And I got a kick out of this. I studied the gearing system, actually fairly elaborate how they're making that windmill go around. And this was fun. One of the guys was running a British train. This is not Britain, but they were running a British train on it. Free mode. There are no rules. Do whatever you want, any way you want to do it. Oh, and here's what a real railroad would do. If they had leftover equipment, they might just stick it in a park somewhere.
Right. Check out the little stagecoaches.
I think those are 3D printed, but I'm not at all sure that they look 3D printed. They're really neat. One of the advantages with N Scale is you can do what they're doing here. You can have really long trains and large switching yards without taking up a lot of space. If you're really into heavy mainline traffic and you don't have a 40 by 100 warehouse to build it in, well, N Scale is really the way to go.
It's hard to tell who's having the most fun, the people looking at the railroad or the people running the railroad.
Yeah, I think they're both having a ball. But that's been my experience with modular railroads. It's very much a social activity and a modeling activity. It's sure impressive to see this great big Challenger pull in this long, long train gently snaking through these wide curves. I mean, that's the real upside of N Scale right there.
I like it because it's small and it fits about anywhere. And there's just something about something this small that's not only fun but just charming.
I guess that's part of your fascination with those little teeny dolls you collect.
Absolutely.
Those kittles.
Everything is tiny.
But with this modern equipment, there's no detail or operation sacrificed because this stuff is so very, very small. And there were a couple of local groups here with their modules. This is the Ophir, Tintic, and Western group. They have this N Scale module set, and they also have an HO railroad that they take around. Pretty nifty to see this, and pretty nice for them to have the National N Scale Convention land right in their backyard.
Like watching most trains and model trains on railroads, it's fun to just track the train and see which track it takes.
And this one's got a lot of different routing options. That sort of seems what these guys are into. They've even got one place where the trains can duck through the backdrop and come out on the other side. That's kind of funny.
You know, when I was a little kid and I'd see a real train on a real track, I thought they were alive and kind of had a mind of their own. So watching these little trains go around on the track and deciding where they're going to go, it reminds me of that.
There is certainly something about kids' fascination with trains. It comes to kids quite early and they just hang on to it forever. There's just something downright fascinating about a train, especially to a little kid. Now this is the Modular Railroad of the Wasatch N Scalers and our friends Bob and Karen Gerald.
They helped organize the whole layout tour.
That was really nice of them. And, you know, they've got a great big railroad at home.
They do.
And they're really into prototype operations. That's what they're totally into. And it's neat to see another man and wife team besides you and me that enjoys doing these things together. That's
It's
always
fun.
just fun.
Yeah.
But as if their big home railroad wasn't enough of a project, then they're also hanging out here with the Wasatch N Scalers, and a couple of these bigger modules are theirs. So, boy, are they involved in it.
I think they enjoy it, though.
I think they get a big kick out of it. Well, like all conventions, this one came to a close, and they had the awards banquet here where they gave out awards for the best models and modules and all of that sort of thing. But it was just really fun to meet all these new people.
Right. Some of them were from way back east, Pennsylvania, and all over.
All over the place, and it was just really fun to get acquainted with a lot of new people this way. I'm beat.
I am too. My feet feel like Disneyland feet.
You know, you say, well, the dealer room isn't that big and the modules aren't that big, but you walk and you walk and you walk.
Oh,
and
you walk, and then people stop to visit.
Yeah,
and
you stand for an hour
and they're
you
from
talk.
interesting places, and you and it's not hard to just spend some time.
And so many of those little booths that we stopped at and talked to people about the 3D printing and the laser cut wood, and it's like you really want to talk to these people, and so
haul it all home, and
by the end of the day, your dogs are barking.
exactly. Wow.
Anyway, it was really fun. So I hope you enjoyed it half as much as we did, and I hope your feet don't hurt like ours do. Well, if you haven't been over to the channel, do pop on over to the channel. And if you're not a subscriber, then this means that you have an opportunity to subscribe now.
Yes.
And the easy way to subscribe is to click on the new blue button, the Google approved new button. Are you ready?
Here it is.
Round button right there makes you a subscriber. But we're not sure how you found this movie on the internet. We hope you didn't find it boring. And we will see you here on Tuesday with the collector. See you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.